Welcome, and thanks for joining us today. You're listening to the Women's Broadcast Television Expert Spotlight Show. And I'm your host, Shay Vaughn. WBTVN is the all-women internet television station with content that's created by women and for women. And today, joining us on WBTVN Spotlight Expert Show is our guest. Let me tell you a little bit about her, Valerie Sheppard. And she is a best-selling author. Her book is called Living Happy to Be Me. Living Happy to Be Me. I think we'd all want to be that. She also teaches mindfulness and self-mastery. And she has 4 steps that she's going to share with us today. So let's welcome her to the show. Welcome to the show, Valerie. So nice to have you on with us today.
Thank you so much, Shay. I'm thrilled to be here. This is just a treat for me, and I'm so grateful.
Oh, well, thank you. We're grateful, too. And before we get started, tell me a little bit about growing up, what that was like, good, bad, ugly, or whatever, wonderful, whatever. And how did you get to where you are today? What was that path like?
Growing up was somewhat tumultuous, kind of fun. I was the daughter of a United States Marine, a career Marine. And so we moved a lot. And we also had a high discipline household. My dad, I say in my book, it sometimes felt like it was his way or the highway. So I grew up knowing there were certain things that I had to do. I had to excel. I had to get things done. It was all about being driven, and I had to pull myself up by my bootstraps. A lot of things that I associate with the military were part of my upbringing.
Wow.
And then I also had this charmed life. When I was getting older, it seemed like dots would connect and things would show up at exactly the right time. And so I've had a wonderful mixture of feeling completely blessed and supported and on the right path, along with feeling lost and forsaken and wishing things were different and wondering not too long ago why my life actually is my life.
Wow. And I think that's a question that all of us kind of ask ourselves, don't we?
Yes.
And I think that the combination of stuff that you put, like, one day is just couldn't be better. And the next day, why did I get out of bed? That kind of thing. And of course, those in-between things, which we try to get some balance in. But I think that we all have stories to tell that are inspirational and happy times in our lives. I hope for most of us anyway. And other times, like you're just pulling out your hair. You got to be kidding me. This is my life. What did I do to deserve this?
Well, and one of those big times for me was about 17 months ago when a blood vessel burst in my brain and I had a catastrophic brain hemorrhage that landed me in the hospital and ICU for a few days. And then, I'm still rehabbing my physical body right now. So it's just a, continuation, and learning to live in a happy, vibrant, trusting, compassionate, self-loving place, even in the midst of those things that make us go, what is going on here?
Right.
Is really important. And that's what I stand for. That's what I teach.
Oh, that's great. So you teach at one of the universities.
I teach at the University of California, Irvine campus.
Irvine, okay. And so the courses that you teach are really kind of like what we're talking about.
Yes. I started there about 10 years ago, I guess back in 2007. But I was teaching in a very different way. I was teaching at the business school. I have a long career in marketing and business strategy. I was the vice president of a Fortune 250 firm. And so I was teaching marketing. And over time, I got very interested in what was going on with the students beyond my marketing classes. Mm-hmm. And I was noticing that about 80% of them would come to office hours to talk to me about something related to marketing. And we would end up evolving the conversation into life, matters of life, how they're not happy, how do they deal with stress, how do they deal with depression, how do they manage their parents. My parents are paying for college and they want me to be an accountant because that's a great career that'll have some staying power and security, but I want to be a writer, or I want to be a lawyer, or I want to do something different. And a lot of it was about creative energy. And I saw that, and I knew that I was doing this coaching with executives and others, and I thought, there's got to be something that I can contribute to this time, this transition from late adolescence to young adulthood.
Absolutely. And that's not an easy transfer, because we all struggle at certain things. We're always got one foot here and one foot there, and we're trying to get it together, you know?
Exactly. And young people, the data on this age group, so call it 17 to 22, like suicide is the number 2 cause of death in this group of young people. And I never would have thought they had so much stress, but they really do. And so I pitched a curriculum based on my book that is called Non-Cognitive Life Skills. And it's to wrap around them so that while they're getting their anthropology degree or their criminology degree or their business degree, they're also getting some really important foundational skills that will carry them through the rest of their lives. And fortunately for me and for the students, the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs agreed. And so my curriculum started being piloted in the spring of 2015, and we're getting incredible results. So it's a class of life skills called Living 101, Being Happy and Whole. And we added Living 102, which is a more intensive, advanced study.
Right. And who writes all of the curriculum for that?
I do.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
Yes, the curriculum is based on my book.
The thing of it is, it's hard enough to go out there and prove yourself that this is, this is stuff that these kids need to know now.
Yes.
I mean, we do need to learn to write and to do math and, all of those science and all of that. But the truth of the matter is, where are the skills to living life? Where are the skills to living life?
And when I was first talking about this idea and this concept to people, I heard 2 things every time, like 100% of the time. The first thing was, boy, I wish I'd had this when I was in school. And I was thinking the same thing, like how different would my life have been had I had some skills to help me deal with fear and stress and to flow my emotions rather than stuffing them down inside me. Yes. And so I heard that, wish I'd had this when I was in school. And the second thing was, wow, this is really necessary. This could really support a lot of young people to have the kinds of lives they really love to live and to get there in their 20s, not when they go through a midlife crisis in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah. It's funny, we talk about the kind of life that they, that they want to live. And I was talking with a mentor the other day that does some amazing CEO kinds of mentoring. Mm. And one of the things, he says, people don't realize that, but people buy or hook into or connect with, whatever that happens to be, with things that they want, not that they need.
Right.
And so there's so much truth in that when you get down to it. And that's really where the problems are, is that they know they need to do something because it's going to help their health. It's going to help their stress. It's going to help, live a better life. I mean, just be happier, bring joy into it and whatever. But if they don't want it, they're not going to buy into it, even though they know that this is really what is going to make the changes that they need.
It really is true. And there's this dynamic that goes on with what we know intellectually in our head. It's like, okay, I can rationalize why this would be good for me and all the 52 reasons of how it's going to work and all that. But if that head is not connected to this heart center, is not connected to a feeling sense and an innate, intuitive, natural sense that says, this is for me. This is for me. Then there's a disconnect and people can get started. I think this is why New Year's resolutions may not work. We have the rational part of it, but we aren't bringing the rest of the body along with this real deep sense of, I want this. This is a desire. It's going to fulfill me.
Well, I definitely believe, I've been in health and wellness for a long time and coaching and a lot of the things that you're doing, not teaching at that level by any sense of but the thing of it is that in working in this industry and putting programs together and working, with one-on-one and big groups and all of that kinds of things, the thing that it taught me is that you need to have the mental and emotional wisdom to be able to make what you need to do work for you. Because otherwise, and because you brought up New Year's resolutions, in 3 weeks they're forgotten, and yet the following year they do the same thing again. So there's something that's crazy about that. Yeah. So it really means I have 5 principles: commitment, perseverance, self-control, integrity, and love. And I'm not going to go through that with you, but if the commitment isn't strong enough to be able to overcome all of everything that we're talking about, then they're never going to get to where they want to be. It's kind of like if you go and you sign a contract with renting a car or a mortgage on your house. That's pretty serious. And until we get serious, that we know that we are now responsible for this, we're not going to do it.
It's so critical to be in alignment, to be in a head and heart alignment. And a lot of people don't even I didn't understand what that was up until a certain point in my life.
Right.
Where I was doing everything with intellectual horsepower. I was really proud of my master's degree. I was really proud of, all of my intellect. And I actually had a yoga master tell me, your energy stops at your neck. Like you are not embodying the wisdom that you carry.
That you're choking on it.
Exactly.
You're actually doing yourself harm because you don't allow that to flow in its natural way.
Yeah, and allow it to be a part of how I actually do my life, experience my life, contribute my beautiful energy into my life.
Right. So I know that you do a lot of speaking engagements. Where do you normally speak? What have you done in that area?
Well, I've had a number of different engagements. So I speak on college campuses. I'm doing this year, I'm really excited to be speaking at one of the commencement exercises at UCI, but I also do corporate stuff. So I've been brought in through corporate universities to talk about leadership, and in a couple of weeks I'm going to Vancouver to do a big thing called Live, Love, Laugh, where we'll talk about leadership, and it'll be based on the 4 steps in my book. So I've spoken at spiritual organizations, business and corporate organizations, and in professional associations and in small groups, and just about any place that will allow.
Put you on a platform so that they can hear your message.
The magic, yes.
And that's why we're here on WBTVN's Expert Spotlight Show. So you hit on, I don't mean for you to go through each one of those, but you do have 4 steps that you feel that people need to kind of embrace and own it, and then they can live it.
Yes.
And so what's that all about? What are those 4 steps?
Well, so what I noticed at a point in my life was that there was a lot of disconnect with what I wanted to be doing and what I was doing, how I wanted to be feeling about myself and what was really happening. And so I spent a lot of time and energy and money and effort to kind of take a lot of different classes and go on this discovery. And so what I've done in my book is kind of distilled that down into what I call my 4 steps of living happy to be me. To help people do it a lot easier. So the first one is wake up to the truth of who you are. And that's really centered in spiritual universal principles that says we are at once spiritual and human. We're integrated beings, not just humans. And with that comes responsibility, but also comes an immense amount of power. And when we learn how to use that in our lives can go much smoother.
Great.
And step 2
that makes perfect sense to me. Wake up. I mean, just that part of it, just wake up to who we are. And part of that, isn't that part of just being truly integrity in your life and being honest with who that person is?
It is. And part of the honesty comes from step 2, which is called shake up and release everything that is not of the magnificent essence of you. And so what that basically means is that throughout our lives, we are conditioned to think certain things about ourselves. And a lot of it is subconscious. Like we don't even know sometimes that this stuff is rolling around on the inside, but it's subconsciously running us. And we need to understand it and get rid of the stuff that doesn't work.
And that's like thoughts that come into your mind that aren't positive, and I often say, shoo fly.
Hallelujah. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, you can.
I like that.
Because it's so true.
Yes.
And the thing of it is that we're just not mindful because we're used to having that happen, but we don't take action on how to replace it, or how to change that tape.
Exactly.
So when something is really being said to me that is not within my integrity, or not within, what I believe is, and that doesn't mean not listening to somebody else's opinion that may be opposed to what mine is. That's a whole different thing. I'm always open-minded and open-hearted about that. I'm talking about really negativity.
Yes.
So this stuff that can be said in a more positive way. And I've really had to train myself to go shoo fly. And there's times when I'm talking to somebody and I go like that and they say, oh, what's wrong?
That's a beautiful embodiment. So
exactly, because you get so used, and I go, oh, I don't know. The wind is blowing, and we're in a room and there's no wind. But anyway, those kinds of things are important.
They really are. And you're doing beautiful segues for me. So you just said we've got to get rid of the stuff that isn't serving us and replace them with something. So the replacement is step 3 of my 4-step process, which is make up a new story of you in your life. And so what it talks about is often our lives, especially as women, our lives are about everything and everybody else, where I got to take care of the kids and the pets and the husband and the lover and the whatever else and the job and the community. And then eventually we can eke out a couple minutes for ourselves. And so part of the makeup step is, how are we replacing the conditioning that says we're not enough and we're not worthy and we're not deserving of having all that magnificence for ourselves too?
Right. And that's about really visualizing who it is that you really want to be. Just kind of like melting this down a little bit. And you may not be there yet, but this is the journey. We never get to where we want to be, even at the day of our death, and that's okay. That's okay. What's not okay is not working on it. Not understanding that it does take a lot of work and perseverance to get there. It's not going to happen on its own. And so being mindful of it, like you say, that's one of the most important things. And just little things that you can do, like I mentioned, shoo fly away when anything negative is coming into my head because somebody's saying something to me, or my own thoughts.
Your own thoughts.
We have to really control our own thoughts. And I'm like, no, now how can I say that more positive? How can I turn that into something? So you have to be active with you talking to yourself. It's okay. I mean, you can even stand in the mirror when those things happen. You go, oh, I need to think about this differently, And yes. and so what happens is that it becomes easier to do it, and you're more aware of it. And those begin all the things that you're talking about to make that change, because you are visualizing what it is you want your life to be. Not what it is right now, but you want it to be. And you will work towards that even harder if you can actually visualize it and say it. Say it out loud. Take little posties, write it on it, put it all over to remind yourself, this is what you want your life to be.
I have some on my mirror right now. I have my affirmations and I do meditation every day. So then now you're leading right into step 4, which is take up the reins and go live it, which is basically all about what are the practices that you have to embody in order to keep what you're doing, keep going to higher ground happening in your life. How does that perseverance happen so that when you make a resolution for yourself, you follow through on it, not because you want to prove to other people that you can, but because you want to give yourself in love and compassion and tolerance to you, from you, for you, exactly what you need to live the magnificent life that you came here to live.
Exactly. And really, I want to kind of like, it's kind of like you've put all this work in on these, first 3. Now, this is an opportunity to live it. Doesn't mean that you don't have to do some work, but you've accomplished a lot. And this is going to be easier for you. You just need to keep it going.
And it doesn't mean that there aren't, periodic places where you're kind of, I don't like to call it a setback, but maybe there's a place where you feel like you're in stagnation, and you might actually be in gestation. So they can look remarkably the same. So even though that big opening hasn't like made itself apparent, like you haven't gotten the new job or the new friend or the new boyfriend or the new house or whatever that thing is that you're working toward, a new sense of self even, that doesn't mean you aren't very well along your path and you're not creating it. And so the whole idea of this fourth step is that celebrate. Like every little victory is worth claiming. I'm doing this. I'm creating
celebration. Of course.
Yes.
You should. Every single thing that happens for you that is positive or unexpected, and it makes you smile and it makes you happy. Celebration time is here, right?
Yes.
Love it.
Absolutely. And then I tell people, have a laugh. Like laughter has been proven through decades to be actual healing. Like healing properties of laughter have been studied and written about for a long time. And if when we get to the point where we can laugh at ourselves, like in total love, not in jest, not in judgment, but in love. Oh, look, I can't believe I just did that. Or I'm still saying that. We're going to have to work on that. But without judgment, without that anger voice or that disciplinarian voice that we're conditioned to be for ourselves through other interactions. Right. Laughter can really heal the soul.
Yeah, I so believe that, and I talk about that when I'm speaking. And it's really that deep belly laugh, like, okay, wait a second, I got to stop because I'm going to have to run to the restroom because this is tough. I mean, the pressure on that belly is so much, but it's so deep and feels so good, and you need that every day of your life. Something that gives that to you.
Exactly. And while you're talking about deep belly laughter can give you six-pack abs if you do it like a practice.
Yeah, you're pulling that belly right in. There's 12 muscles that align. That's there's 3 regions of the core. That's one of the first regions. And there's 12 muscles that actually align that. So yes, I mean, just laugh out loud and enjoy because you're working out. So you need to do a whole lot. You enjoyed it at the same time.
And you're worth it.
Yeah, and you're definitely worth this. Well, Valerie, you've been such a joy in all of our lives today, and so grateful for having you on. I want people to know where they can get in touch with you. Where would that be?
Oh, please. I invite everyone to go to happytobeme.net. That's just happytobeme.net, and you'll see videos and you can contact me. And there's also a link to check out the book, and it's all right there, one place.
All good. And so if you had one leading sentence or something as far as what people should actually think about that first step and do in their life, what would that be? What would that
be? The thought would be that you are not here to struggle and strive and prove yourself. That is not the promise, and that's not what your life is supposed to be about. So if that's how you're getting where you think you'll be happy, how you're getting where you think you'll find what you want, I would encourage and invite you to reevaluate that and to allow yourself some space to find a way to dance and laugh and play into your success, because it can be done.
Oh, it can be done, and I love that. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being on our WBTVN Expert Spotlight Show. And I want to thank the audience also for being here with us today and really enjoying some great information from a great gal, Valerie Sheppard. And if you're interested in being on the Spotlight Show, please go to WBTVN.tv, and there's a form there, and we will get in touch with you. Until the next time, everyone, have a great day. Bye-bye now.